I'm live. Hello. Hi. It's Friday. It's January 22nd. It's 1 p.m. Pacific time, and I'm Alison Pitt, and welcome to Daily Star Trek Views. It's a live show, kind of off the back of Daily Star Trek News, the not live show. And we're going to have some fun this afternoon. So, yes, as Mohammed points out in the chat, I just retweeted. Sir Patrick Stewart has just now received, or he just posted, I don't know when he received it, the COVID-19 vaccine, which is fantastic news, and once again showing him as a real leader for people everywhere. So well done to Sir Patrick Stewart. Hello, there's a few people in chat. Hello, good afternoon. So today is a kind of a funny day because there's not a lot going on. I have been doing Discovery, and last week, of course, we did the Discovery season 3 wrap up. There's no new Star Trek on TV now. And from next week, I'm going to take Christoph's suggestion that I don't know if you saw on Twitter, that we're going to start talking about Star Trek Lower Decks. I'll go ahead and do a recap of that because I was not doing the live show when Lower Decks was on here in the States. And Lower Decks is just premiering today overseas on Netflix. So we'll look at Lower Decks. They're pretty short episodes, so I don't know whether I'll do like 1 or 2 episodes per, but that's something to look forward to next week. In the meantime, though, there's not really any new Star Trek to talk about, so I have kind of like a mishmash of things that we're going to do today, and I'm also happy to take any questions or anything you guys want to talk about. That's fine. I have a couple of things that I just want to talk about from news this week, but then I have a little musical interlude in the middle. I don't know if any of you saw my Twitter post today. I've given you some links to some music to listen to, and I will explain that later. And then at the end, I'm just going to talk a little bit about misinformation, and particularly as it pertains to fandom and Star Trek fandom in particular. It's something that I'm quite passionate about, and because we're going into a quiet time in terms of like real Star Trek news, there's a lot of misinformation out there, and so I'm going to talk about that and give you some perspective from what I can see from what I do. So just want to say before we get started, if you like what we're doing here on the show, then please consider contributing to us on Patreon from just $1 a month, and you can actually get a discount if you do a full year. It helps us out a lot, and it goes towards things like technology and our hosting, which is more expensive than you think, and basically keeping everyone connected. So it helps us out a lot. So if you would consider doing that, then I'd be really grateful. You can go to patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News for that. Now, really quickly, so this was something I'm like drowning in stuff recently. And it's just, because that's what happens sometimes. So I decided today, because it's like a quiet day and I don't have like a topic to talk about, I just wanted to do a really quick little show and tell. If you guys like it, I'll do that more going forward, because I have like loads of random Star Trek stuff that I've accumulated over the years, and some of it's kind of fun and some of it has some neat little stories to it. So the one that I wanted to show you today is from my friend and yours, Larry Nemeczek. This is his, it's a CD, Trekland on Speaker limited edition debut disc number 5. And it is, here, I'll show you the back too. There we go. This is rare, never before heard moments from the sets of 1996's 2 classic homage episodes in Trek Luminaries' own voices, with Grace Lee Whitney, David Livingston, David Gerald, Bob Blackman, Rondi Moore, Mike Westmore, Ed Cooper, and Herman Zimmerman. As you can see, it's still in the plastic. I've never actually taken it off because my intention was to get it signed, and I never did, which is ironic because I see Larry on a semi-regular basis and I always forget. This came from, story time. When I first moved to Southern California, which was at the very end of 2017, it was during the first season of Star Trek Discovery. which concluded in like January of 2018, I want to say. One of the first things I did when I moved down here was I took part in, we used to do um, the LAOA team and the Impro studio in Los Feliz used to do watch parties. And I only went to one or two because it's quite far actually from where I live. But I went up there to see the finale of Star Trek Discovery season 1. And Larry was there and John Champion was there and a bunch of other people and the LAOA team. And we did some trivia. And I won this because I could name the three. I want to say I named the three people who were on board. The oh my god, the Shenzo. I was like, I almost forgot what it was called. The Shenzo, and then also ended up on Discovery. I now can't remember that off the top of my head. But anyway, I got this and I'd intended to get Larry to sign it on the day and then I totally forgot. And now it's sitting here and I'm afraid to open it. Also, I don't have a CD player. So I can't open it. But anyway, there's a little piece of random Star Trek history that sits in my house. And so I'll bring another one next time for a little show and tell because it's good fun and these are all things that are around in the room. You might see them in the background. Anyway, so listen, not much in terms of like Star Trek news this week, really. I mean, there's not really anything going on. But how exciting was it to see like representation at the inauguration? Um, Number one, the Bernie memes are on fire. Like all of the Star Trek Bernie memes are just wonderful. StarTrek.com did a wonderful roundup of some of the best of them. They're wonderful. And also, I don't know if you saw the story that I did in today's show that came out this morning, and it's also on the website as well. The little Star Trek little connections. Yo-Yo Ma playing a little bit of Star Trek at the beginning of his piece. And of course, Anthony Rapp taking part in the Broadway thing. Although I feel a little bit bad. I don't think it's really fair to like attach Star Trek to Anthony Rapp when he's doing a Broadway performance because he's really bringing Broadway into Star Trek, not the other way around. But anyway, it was wonderful to see him there. And of course, the credit for pointing those out goes to, I believe it's Art who emailed me about those. So, I'll be honest with you, between me and Chris, we generally would consider that we have like everything covered, that we generally know most of what's going on in Star Trek, but not always. So if you have stuff that you see that you think is cool, by all means, please send it in to me. Sometimes, sometimes I already know about it and sometimes I don't. And sometimes it makes it into the show. And this is your daily Star Trek news for, to be totally cheesy about it, but it is, it's the whole point is that it's trying to bring information to you guys that you'd find interesting. So, that goes two ways. So please let me know. Also, the big news of the week is that we have a launch date for Paramount Plus. And, I mean, there's not a lot to say about it. They didn't give us any additional information, except that that's when the rebrand will be happening. The timing is interesting in March. The reason I say that it's interesting is because so I had confirmation from ViacomCBS that the existing app will be will be rebranded into the new one. I don't know that I don't feel super confident in their technical ability to manage that transition, so I am expecting hiccups, but it's a time of year that's pretty quiet. It also probably indicates that we're really not going to see any more Star Trek until the other side of that. I know everybody's like, we're never going to see Star Trek again. I'm more optimistic than that. I could be wrong. I'm wrong about a lot of things. But nonetheless, it's very exciting. And for me, Paramount Plus marks the beginning of a new global strategy, or the beginning of the rollout of a new global strategy. They've got new infrastructure. They're tying together the branding across multiple continents. And I am hoping for those of you who live overseas that this could be the first step in unifying that and getting Star Trek content to you in a bit more of a timely way. So, looking forward to seeing how that plays out, and what other features whether it will just be a reskin or whether they're actually going to implement any new features or any new content at the time. So anyway, that's very exciting, and that's probably the biggest news of the week was basically that March 4th date for the new Paramount Plus, and also the inauguration and the Star Trek reaction there too. So yeah, that's what's going on. Um, so the next part of today's show, I wanted to mention that this comes via Zach, who sometimes is in chat. I don't know if he's in chat today. Um, Zach wrote to me last week, or the end of last week, I think, or the beginning of this week, to let me know that Bahia Watson has a Bandcamp page, and she just released a new self-produced album. Now, Bahia Watson is I can't remember her name. Do you remember like Tilly's Imaginary Friend? File under plot points of Star Trek Discovery that they've like pretended didn't happen. I can't even I've blocked most of seasons 1 and 2 out of my mind. Sorry. May, thank you, May. So Bahia Watson played May in season 2, season 1, it was season 2, maybe I can't even remember. Sorry, I know I'm really disrespecting people who love Discovery. Just that whole I never understood it. And we've completely forgotten about May. She just disappeared. Anyway, Bahia Watson produces her own music, and she's got a Bandcamp page. And if you go onto my Twitter, I've posted the links to those. And I'm sorry, I don't have them right in front of me to post here because, but I will do when this is over. I'll post them in the show notes underneath this video, so you guys can go and listen. So it occurred to me that what I should do is actually do a little bit of just sort of fun. I will form a full sentence soon. In today's show, I said the phrase that Star Trek is a lot like glitter because it kind of gets everywhere. And off the back of what Zach sent, it occurred to me that yes, it does. And I actually have some music that I've been listening to recently that is Trek adjacent that I basically found through Star Trek. And so I wanted to kind of share that with you and draw those little lines to just show you that it kind of gets everywhere and there's Star Trek fans everywhere. So the first one was Bahia Watson, which I will link below. And also, it came out a little while ago, but I did talk about it on the show. Tawny Newsome, who's the voice of, Lower Decks. My brain is not working today. I apologize. Like the main character, Mariner. Ensign Mariner on Lower Decks. So Tawny Newsome has a musical partner called Bethany Thomas, and they work together. And they've put out an album called Material Flats. That one's available on Apple Music, so you can listen to that. And that's a really cool one too. It's kind of like dialed back, but it's kind of pop rock and of the moment. It's lyrical. I mean, it's the lyrics are worth listening to. There's a song on there that was inspired by Juneteenth. I think it's a really fun, nice album to listen to, and so I would recommend that you go and do that. Bahia Watson, I already talked about. I don't even know how to qualify to describe her music, except that it's really enjoyable to listen to. I had it on while I was working the other day, and it's kind of quiet but funky. As you can tell, I am not a music critic and I know nothing about music, but I know what I like. The final one is actually another really interesting story. So it's like story time with Alison today. One of the things that I sometimes do on the Daily Star Trek News Instagram page, which I haven't done in a while, is that I try to promote original artists, and including tattoo artists, because I have a Star Trek tattoo, and most of the people that I know also have Star Trek themed tattoos. So I wanted to kind of showcase some of that as well. And Instagram is a very good medium for that. A while back, sometime like early last year, I retweeted a photo of a woman with an Enterprise kind of line. It was like black line drawing with Enterprise and some stars on her forearm. And I retweeted that because I don't know if you're familiar with Instagram. Sometimes it serves you up stuff that's from forever ago. It depends on the algorithm and those other things. Anyway, so I shared that, and the woman whose arm it was, it turns out is a singer, and she'd like forgotten that she'd posted. I can't remember if she posted that picture or whether the person who did the tattoo posted the picture. Anyway, she had commented that she had forgotten that she had that picture. Her name is Catherine Penfold. She's a musician out of the west side of Canada. I want to say Vancouver. And she's got just an amazing, amazing, soulful voice. Her music is very, like, I will let you in on a secret. Basically, Catherine Penfold and another guy called Sebastian Ade are like my on like repeat right now. It's just like the thing that I'm listening to. She's kind of like soul jazz. It's very sort of quiet. And you can go and listen to her now. She's on Apple Music. She's got an album out on Apple Music called The Sweetest Thing. And she also is on Instagram as well. And she often posts videos from her live performances and that sort of thing. And she's a Star Trek fan. And I don't consider myself, when it comes to music, I don't consider myself in any way cool at all. I listen to pop music. I listen to Taylor Swift. So when something like that happens, that I happen to find a cool looking tattoo that happens to belong to a woman who does really amazing music, that kind of just, that kind of story like gets me. And she's really cool. She's very tolerant of me fangirling on a regular basis. But go and listen to Catherine Penfold. Go and listen to Bahia Watson. Go and listen to Tawny Newsome and Bethany Thomas. You will not regret it. A whole bunch of women who have Star Trek cred in something that's completely unrelated to Star Trek. And of course, that's, not to forget all of the really talented artists who also do Star Trek themed music. 5 Year Mission is fantastic. Their song, The Menagerie Part 2, that song is still like, it's one of my favorite songs, Star Trek or not. And it's only sort of, the lyrics are not quite like, they're not like, oh, to boldly go in Star Trek. It's not like that. That one's a good one to go and listen to. And God, I'm forgetting. I think they're actually called Boldly Go, the punk band that's been on this show a couple times. So yeah, Star Trek music, very cool. I'd be curious to hear if you guys also have any kind of like, wow, there's a helicopter outside. It's really loud. I'd be curious to hear if you guys actually have any like weird tangential Star Trek connections that you find funny, because the more that I do this, the more that I talk to Star Trek people, the more that it just kind of like, it's kind of everywhere. And I find that like fascinating and magical and cool. So, yay. All right, I'm going to take a really quick, like, just a break with me chatting, to have a quick swizz down the chat. Now is a really good time. If you have any questions or things that you would like to talk about, let me know. Oh, Christoph popped in for just a second, but he said he's going to watch this later. So. So Hal Morrison raises a really good question. We were talking about Paramount Plus, and he asked, "We still don't know if the price goes up." So this is a little bit of fun drama. I felt very grown up and professional today because I actually got in touch with one of the executives at ViacomCBS who put out the press release and asking them that very question. Because so back in October, you may have heard me say the name Mark DeBevoise. He used to be the chief digital officer. He's now left ViacomCBS. He did an interview in like August or October. I can't remember the timing with Decider. And in that interview, he said two things that were really important, at least I thought. Number one is that an existing CBS All Access subscriber will just get, you will just move over to Paramount Plus, that the existing app will become the new app. And number two was that the pricing would stay the same. He said those two things on the record, whatever. Mark DeBevoise is no longer with the company. He left. They restructured how streaming services were going to be. They promoted the CEO of Pluto TV into that overseeing a streaming strategy role. And but they didn't say anything about the app and the pricing in their press release. And so I reached out to ViacomCBS and I asked them, what about, is the app just an upgrade or what's going on? And also, what's going on with pricing? Because Mark DeBevoise said it wasn't going to change. And they confirmed back that the app would stay the same. So it's just going to be it's just going to be rebranded to Paramount Plus. And womp womp, we have no pricing structure information yet. So the answer is that there isn't an answer yet. The person who had said that the pricing would not change is no longer with the business. That you shouldn't take that as an indicator because you shouldn't take it as an indicator because it means nothing. It means nothing. It means as much as if he'd never said anything in the first place. They can always change their minds. From somebody who has experience in retail, I would say that changing a pricing structure for them would be a hard sell to their audience. And I'm not sure why, they would have to have a really good reason for wanting to do that. Because let me tell you, I got an email the other day from Netflix saying that my plan's going up by $2 and I'm pissed. If they tried to do that with CBS All Access right now, where they're in transition and everything, I think that could be an uphill battle for them. But having said that, there's no, it's a private company. They can do whatever they want. So when I know about pricing, you will also know about pricing. But for now, there's no information. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Peter H. points out that the actress who played May is also on the current season of The Expanse and playing a very different character than May. I love The Expanse. I tried to start watching it and I loved it, but it was way too complicated for me. So I was trying to watch it in the background while I was working and it didn't work. So at some point in the future, I will sit down and actually watch it. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet. So yeah. Okay. Right. Right. Oh, I wrote notes. Okay. So this for the next 5 minutes, I just wanted to draw attention to something that's concerning to me and I'm passionate about, and that is the rise of misinformation. And I figured because I actually have kind of a unique perspective on a lot of what goes on in fandom in particular, that I would kind of sort of share with you what I can see from where I sit. So we are entering a time of very little news. Like, you kind of offhand be like, "Oh, it's a slow news day." Almost all the news days now are going to be very slow because, there aren't any major things. We're, like, in the lull between big tentpole events or whatever. And I've only been doing this show for less than 2 years, but it comes in waves. There was a big lull while Lower Decks was on, and then it bumped up again when Discovery came back on. So right now we're in a lull. Most of the news that you're going to be hearing on Daily Star Trek News is going to be things like, what did what did Marina Sirtis say this week? Or, what controversy is William Shatner stoking this week? Or, things like that. Um, and not an awful lot about current productions or future productions or the state of the franchise or anything like that. Um, when that happens, so a lot the all of the websites that you read Star Trek news on, including mine, are blogs for all intents and purposes. And when you have a revenue stream that depends on your blog, one of the things that it depends on, especially when you're in a news-based industry, you have to have consistent traffic to your website. That's how you get paid. And because of that, the big blogs are going to continue publishing information, but it may not necessarily be the best quality information. And that's not, excuse me, that's not to knock any particular blog, because it's a business, and the responsible ones will be responsible and the irresponsible ones will be irresponsible. That's not going to change. However, because the quote unquote real news is like a lot less, the difference between like real news and the kind of gray area opinion slash news, those two things are getting closer together, and it's going to be harder to separate like what's real from what's just sort of somebody's opinion or somebody's conjecture. So, that having been said, one of the things that I always judge from when I'm reading something is sort of three things for any assertion that you might read. And that could be a quote, or it also could be the person's assertion who's writing the article. And those three things are: who's saying it, when did they say it, what context did they say it in, and is that person trustworthy? And so if you can kind of keep those things in mind when you're reading something, that will help you separate the things that are real from the things that are just conjecture. Um, so that could be a good example is when you're reading an article about so and so says that so and so has stopped production on Star Trek, or the classic one is, excuse me, the classic one is Star Trek has been canceled and Alex Kurtzman has been fired. Neither of which is true. When you hear an assertion like that, like Star Trek has been canceled, you need to take into account who said that, when, because Google sometimes conflates things that happened in 2013 with now, and that it's not always clear. So you want to find out when. What context was that in? Because if you notice right now, I just said Star Trek is canceled. The context being that I'm saying, no, Star Trek isn't canceled. And then also, is that person trustworthy? I like to think that you guys trust me because you're watching me. But when somebody else says that, consider the source. Have they said trusted sources? Okay, well, a trusted source is trusted by the person who wrote the article, but is the person who wrote the article trustworthy to you? Um, it's not always black and white. People don't always cite their sources. Sometimes they will say trusted sources, or they'll use the same language in Joe Blow's blog as they will in the Hollywood Reporter. And it's sometimes hard to tell the difference. But as long as you're trying to keep that critical thinking and keep a level of skepticism based on that sort of critical, like, assessment of that information, then you'll be on a good footing. Um, I will say a word about things like trusted sources. Um, It's very hard to tell the difference between somebody who says they know somebody who works on set, that trusted source, versus somebody like The Hollywood Reporter, who will also say trusted sources. My litmus test for those is to gauge the level of access on a broader level of that publication. So generally speaking, if Hollywood Reporter or Deadline or Variety or Vanity Fair talks about trusted sources or someone familiar with the matter, generally speaking, you can consider those to be reliable trusted sources. And the reason being is because all of those companies have a high level of access. When they want to get an interview with Tom Cruise, they get one, which says that that industry trusts them to be giving out factual information. And therefore, they're not going to publish something and say trusted sources and then just make it up, because that damages their credibility. On the other side, if you see somebody's blog and they are like, yeah, my third cousin works on the set of Discovery, that may well be true. I'm not saying that it isn't true, but if largely speaking, the rest of their blog does not have that kind of level of access to the industry, then you should definitely view that with a healthy skepticism. And that's how to tell the difference between two different types of people that say trusted sources. That's all I have to say about that. Except to say also, please don't share misinformation. Some people are not very clear that what they're saying is conjecture, or that whatever they're saying is something that might happen. And then what's that saying that a lie travels halfway around the world while the truth is still putting on its socks, or something like that. If you know me at all, you'll know I'm really bad at remembering like phrases like that. I get them mixed up all the time. But yeah, lies spread much, much faster. And, it might get you retweets on Twitter, but it will damage your reputation. So, just think about that before you share something that you're not sure of. So, all right. That's enough of me ranting. That's just sort of from my perspective and what I do on a daily basis as a rule of thumb. So hopefully that is helpful while you're negotiating the next several weeks worth of almost no Star Trek information. That's all I have for today. If you have any final questions, please pop them in. Please pop them in the chat while I'm wrapping up, and I'll see if I can get to them. I just wanted to say once again, thank you very much for tuning in. This is the first time I've been more or less on time in weeks. Next week, we're going to probably do Lower Decks. So watch that first episode back and get your sarcastic Vulcan salutes ready. That'll be a lot of fun. And I just wanted to say, once again, if you appreciate what we're doing on the show and want to help us grow, then please consider contributing to our Patreon at patreon.com/Daily Star Trek News. It helps us. It helps us potentially expand the team and bring you even more of the dependable news you love. I also just want to give a shout out because Mohammed's in the chat. Go and watch his show, Biotricky with the Admiral. I can't remember if it's 2 or 3 episodes that are out now. It's a really good show. It's really enjoyable. It's with him and Jane Brooke talking about biology and talking about Star Trek, and it's a really worth your time. So please go and do that. Also, go and listen to some music and give them some support if you can too. That's all I have. Thank you very much for tuning in once again, and we'll see you next week, if not before. Okay. Live long and prosper, guys. Bye.